I was recently asked if I could comment on the new Chinese digital yuan, or the RMB, and my first thought was is this an interesting question? As far as I know, there isn't one, at least not yet. So I went to Google for a search, and I found that according to Western media, there is one. So I went to Chinese media for a search, and I found there isn't one. This is very strange. Global Times reported back in 2024 that there were plans to speed up the digitization of the finance sector. But since then, searching either digital yuan or RMB or digital RMB, I can't find any further references in their search engine. So it was a surprise to read in a website called bitfinancenews.com reporting that China has launched a cross-border payment system with digital yuan. Okay, so why is this an interesting one for me? Well, in July 2024, Forbes reported that China was on the cusp of releasing a digital RMB and was trialing e-currency in 29 pilot zones, including during the Olympic Games. Now, this much was true, but once again, there are experts here who are not always right. Well, not ever right in most cases. There's still no launch as we approach the middle of this year of a digital RMB. That doesn't mean it won't happen. What it means is that it happens in China's time frame, and that's not always Western media or Western expert predictive time frames. In March 2021, CNBC reported that China has given away millions in its digital yuan trials, and that was true. They definitely did give some digital currency to some people in some places. But that was over 4 years ago, and it's not been launched yet, and I'm still awaiting the results of that test, or that era of testing. Presumably there were some issues, and they need to be resolved before a full rollout of the digital RMB. It isn't done yet, and if and when it is done, it will be an RMB which is pegged to the real RMB. In other words, no one will get rich by speculating on it. The value will remain exactly the same as the value of China's currency. It's not a Bitcoin or a Trump coin, a speculation that allows some people to get rich at the expense of others. In September 2022, China was reported to have launched a digital yuan. It hadn't. It was trialing one in 23 different cities at that time, one of which was Shenzhen. As far as I know, the trial wasn't that successful. The RMB was never launched from those China-wide trials. The problem is that WeChat is so successful, it's going to be very hard to replace. At one stage, they did actually give free RMB to people to use in a range of different outlets throughout the city. This was in Shenzhen. And there were 13,000 places trained to accept this new initiative. But I've heard nothing about that being moved out of Shenzhen or of any other pilot cities since those days. So it isn't happening in China yet. In September 2022, China was reported to have launched a digital yuan. It turned out not to be true. It was working with several banks and 4 countries, as well as Hong Kong, on Embridge, which is a cross-border payment settlement system that does involve any country which wants to get involved. And this is where I think the current news comes from, and the confusion too. In April 2025, just last month, it was reported China has launched a digital yuan. And the truth is, China is one of 23 countries now using this system that has been in operation for many years. It wasn't a new launch. The reports about it seem to confuse Embridge with CIPS. CIPS is China's, although Embridge is not China's. Hong Kong was instrumental in creating it, and now China is one of the 23 countries, mostly ASEAN, which have started to implement payments through it. Many people think that WeChat is a digital currency. It isn't. WeChat payment is simply an electronic online access to our bank accounts, and it's used for transferring money from either my bank account or my WeChat wallet, which I can hold money my personal money in to another person's WeChat wallet. I can't use WeChat to transfer funds to another person's bank account, but if I pay them, they can access their account to deposit it. It can be done by international cross-border payees already, and is by some. But it literally is only an access to users' accounts to transfer real money digitally. It is not an e-currency. CIPS is a Chinese innovation, but it's not a Chinese e-currency. It's a cross-border payment system that replaces SWIFT. It's more efficient, it's faster, and it's cheaper, but it's also still supported by the SWIFT system if needed. If I need to make a CIPS exchange, I personally need to do it through the SWIFT system. And of course, what happened when Russia was taken out of the SWIFT system was that they had to find ways to use tools like CIPS without messaging through SWIFT. They did, and now there's a true alternative. China is benefiting greatly from this, but again, it isn't a new platform. It's 2025 now, and here's some news from 2018. Quote, "The business scope of CIPS has covered 2,190 corporate financial institutions in 144 countries and regions around the world, according to data from the central bank. In 2017, CIPS processed 1.259 million transactions with an amount of 14.55 trillion yuan. That's 5-year-old, 6-year-old information. Russia has a financial messaging system they call SPFS, and about 177 institutions from 24 countries are currently using that. Again, it's not digital currency. It's simply an alternative to SWIFT, which was inevitable when they were locked out of the SWIFT system due to US or maybe UN sanctions. In short, there are a couple of experts I would ask if I wanted to know about this. One would be Professor Warwick Powell, who has probably forgotten more about this stuff than any of us would ever really know. And the other might be John Ross, the economist, who understands a lot of what China is doing and why they're doing it, although he's not an expert on e-banking. I'd also watch and listen to Chinese media and the State Council Information Office, which makes policy announcements. If China has developed and launched a global digital currency for everyone to use, then they will be the ones telling us. At the moment, there are moves towards it, but as far as I know, China has not launched a digital yuan for general use. If they have, despite what Western experts predict and what Western media proclaim, it has not been announced by China in China. Thanks once again for watching my take on China, and I will see you next time. This time is from a very nice hotel in Hunan, where we arrived today on our epic bike ride. See you next time. Bye for now.